get your great idea out there faster or build a website with a quick 5-minute prompt? Or do you just want to learn about the world of AI that's ever evolving and fast changing and really innovative? Well, this episode will cover all of that, but you know the drill. If you want to learn all about that, you need to stick around to learn more. Welcome to Waist Up Wardrobe. I'm Christine Vartanian, an attorney turned personal style expert and image consultant. As the founder of Jade House of Style, I am passionate about unveiling the inner confidence of my clients by developing their personal style and dressing them for success. But is getting dressed up still important in our virtual world? Well, that's where my experience can help with what I call Waist Up Wardrobe. Waist Up Wardrobe is a podcast for all things you need to conduct an outstanding Zoom meeting. It's about how to dress for the camera, but it's not just about the clothes. It's about everything you need to know to show up on brand and professionally for the camera. Join me in the Waist Up Wardrobe studio to discuss how to navigate this virtual world and dominate from behind the desk. Hello, Waist Up Wardrobe Nation. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Waist Up Wardrobe. We're on episode 155, and the world has not stopped talking about AI. Why? Because it has made everything more efficient, faster, and it's allowing ideas to formulate in a very fast and efficient way. And it is pretty remarkable what AI can do. I'm sure most of you have seen what it can do or played with it or perhaps just experimented with it a little bit. Today, we have an expert who he is an expert in the world of AI, and he's going to unveil all the secrets that we need to know about what's working, what's not working, and how to use all the different elements of the artificial intelligence that's really becoming so powerful in the world of business and entrepreneurship. So before I get started, though, I want to say thank you to my super awesome producer, Rick Moscoso, who's always in the green room, in the production room, making this entire show possible. And thank you to the Waist Up Wardrobe community who is always supporting us. Rate us and review us. We are on many platforms, including iTunes, where you can go and listen to us if you can't actually visually watch us. And, if you're taking a walk on the beach and you want to pick up some tips on entrepreneurship or how to show up professionally on camera, please download us and go ahead and give us a listen. We have an episode for everything that you need to know to be in the professional world, whether it's your appearance on camera or your mindset or tips on entrepreneurship. And of course, we cannot not have a show about AI. We've had a couple so far, but we really are seeing this becoming a cutting edge industry innovation that is going to really take on so many of our businesses in different forms. So I'm just going to go ahead and introduce our guest today. Jonathan Green is a best-selling author of 300 books. Wow. A celebrity ghostwriter and a high-ticket affiliate marketer who now lives in the tropical island in the South Pacific. Imagine doing all your work by living in an island in the South Pacific. So right now, where he's at is at 3 a.m. in the morning. So we'll have to thank him for being on the show at this hour. He has turned being fired at one point during a blizzard into a thriving online business that he now runs from the South Pacific. He has been running online business full-time since February of 2010, and he is an expert at using ChatGPT, Midjourney, Claude, and Leonardo to grow your online business. He helps new entrepreneurs to leverage AI to generate real revenue quickly and start replacing their existing 9-to-5 revenue. He has 2 successful AI training programs, which we are going to get to learn about. And one is AI Freedom for Entrepreneurs, and the other one is Fractional AIO for Businesses. Please help me welcome Jonathan Green to the show. Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to dig deep into your expertise and all the ideas and hacks and perhaps tips that you can leave us with. And I think this is going to be a really informative show because we all know how AI is kind of taking on the world, right, Jonathan?
Yeah, it's what everyone's talking about. And sometimes when everyone talks about it, it can be a little bit overwhelming. So I'm here to kind of separate the signal from the noise and talk about what's really important rather than just what's interesting, kind of just focus on what's actually useful for your business.
You actually said that perfectly. I think sometimes when things are new, people are usually scared of doing new things, right? Venturing out on something new. You cannot do business nowadays without delving into AI world because your competition who is using AI will supersede you if you just kind of close your eyes to that innovation. But it is overwhelming because it's something we don't really quite understand yet. We're not well versed in. And so I love that you say that you're here to kind of clear all the noise and kind of focus us on what could actually really help and is practical. So let me start out by just kind of asking generally, why do you think all entrepreneurs should be using AI tools?
It's just the next leap forward in technology. So, in the same way that 30 years ago you needed email, 20 years ago you needed a website, 10 years ago you needed social media, this is the next evolution. And the beauty of AI is there's really two things that make it special. One, you can do everything faster. So, everything you do now, just imagine being 10% faster, 20% faster, 40% faster. And the second thing is that it lowers the barrier to entry. You no longer need to know how to program to develop a piece of software. You don't need to know how to copyright to write a sales letter. The AI can kind of fill in that gap and allow you to enter markets that you were locked out of before because of the need to have technical or advanced knowledges.
Yeah. And it's remarkable like how it can help. It becomes like a team member to your team, right? AI becomes like your little helper. Like if you're used to, hiring somebody to do your blogging, you can easily start doing it yourself or keep it in-house by the help of AI. Of course, you still want superior work, and it's not like you can replace some of these um professions, if you will, but it really does help kind of give you uh, this extra team member that's how I view my AI. My chat GPT is like we are buds. Like we get on and we're like talking like we know each other. And in fact, the other day, actually yesterday, my son needed help with his Shakespearean translation. And I said, well, let's ask ChatGPT about this one. And he goes, oh, that's a great idea. And then I got on and I started talking to my ChatGPT like he's a person. And he goes like, you don't have to do that. I'm like, but that's how he gets to know me. So he knows my voice. What do you think about that, Jonathan? Do you have an opinion about that?
I think it's the right way to use it. So, there's a lot of technical stuff in the back end about way it's designed, but we've already seen from studies that it gets higher responses when you're nicer to it. You actually get more accuracy and faster responses and more prioritization because of the way it's a secondary effect of how they programmed it. It's a lot of boring talk, but basically it's trained to seek affirmation. So when you say a lot of nice things, it wants more affirmation from you. So as opposed to someone who never gives affirmations, like, well, I'll put my energy here towards someone that makes me feel good because it's designed to chase that feeling.
That is amazing. Now, I did not know that, but that is amazing because I started doing that. Actually, I did that because I saw somebody else do it and they were teaching a course on it. So I didn't come up with the idea myself, but I continued doing that. And I'll open up my conversation with like, "Hi, how are you?" And like that kind of surprised my 13-year-old, like, "What are you doing?" But now when you say that, it makes sense, right? Because I do get a lot of great content, and it almost is like the ChatGPT knows me, knows my voice, knows how I like to talk, and that helps the way I interact with it. Shows him how to react to me. Don't you think that makes an impact?
Yes, it's designed to be learning in certain ways. We never know exactly how they're testing it in the back end,
Yeah.
right? They always say, oh, ChatGPT doesn't remember everything, but it's not really true because they're updating it constantly. They're doing small updates all the time. And the way you interact with it does give you different types of responses. How well it's exactly remembering you between conversations, I'm not sure. But what really matters is not the science of it. It's like if you feel like you're getting a better result and you're enjoying using it that way, then that's a great thing. Because the mistake most people make is command response. And when you structure it with do the command response like we're used to with a computer as opposed to an AI, you get a lower quality level of input and output because ChatGPT in its default mode is not allowed to tell you if you've asked a bad or dumb or silly question or given it the wrong information. But when you're in a chat mode, when you switch into chat mode with friendliness or asking a question, it will say, is this what you mean? Is that what you mean? Or I need more information on this. It will actually let you know when you've given it bad input so you can get a better response. So the
Yeah.
way you're communicating with it, even though it sounds silly to people on the outside, you're also activating the chat mode in Chat GPT, which is the other reason you're getting better responses. So even though the way you're doing it isn't, I don't know, scientific or whatever, I don't care because you're getting a better response. Like that's all that matters to me is you're getting a good result and you're enjoying doing it. Why would I ever tell you to change that? It sounds great.
I know. I know. It really is very remarkable. So tell me what you think the biggest mistake is that people make when it comes to ChatGPT or any AI
Sure.
tool, really.
Yeah, the first one was, like I said, was command response. We're so used to telling a computer what to do, right? If you give a calculator the wrong numbers, you get the wrong response. You have to be very specific and precise in entering the numbers. And we've been treating computers that way for so long because if you misspell one letter 20 years ago, the computer wouldn't know what to do, right? And if there was a space in the wrong space, it wouldn't know what to do. I still, in the program I used to write my books, if I mix up the I and E in the word friend, it has no idea what I've done. It goes, I have no idea how to correct this word. What could you possibly have meant when you wrote FREIND? Like it's impossible for it to decode it. Opposed to letters, it happens I before E, E before I. It's a very common mistake. So with ChatGPT, it has this larger ability to accept mistakes on your part and know what you meant. So the ability to be wrong, but still have it know what you meant as opposed to what you said. Like that's what, we always hear that from our parents. Do what I meant, not exactly how I said it. Follow the rule of the law, not the letter of the law, the spirit of the law. That's really where the power comes in. But if you just do command response, you'll never get to that really good stuff because you're forcing it to act in the way of a computer instead of the AI. And a way to kind of build on top of that is that a lot of people think that speaking to an AI is almost like speaking Latin, like when you used to have to learn Latin to go to church 1,000 years ago. It's that, oh, it's like this mysterious language that you have to learn a programming language. And this is something that a lot of AI experts propagate, which is, oh, you have to learn, and the term prompt engineering has come around. And I definitely am a prompt engineer. I know I fall into that category, but it doesn't have to be hard. It's only hard to prompt if you learn from people that teach it the hard way. And the hard way is sounds like it's worth more money. So a lot of people put out these PDFs and guides that are like, oh, here's a 7-step prompting formula. I only use one prompt. I have one prompt that I use for every single thing that I do, and I'll just tell it to you for free. I'm not even going to sell it. I don't care. I'm so tired of people making it hard. Here's the exact one. ChatGPT, this is what I want to do. What information do you need from me? If you start every conversation that way with explaining your goal and then giving it permission to tell you what information it needs, you'll become probably one of the top 1% of the top 1% of prompters and AI experts in the world. Because now you don't have to know any prompts. You've given ChatGPT permission to be the expert and just say, oh, this is the data I need to get the output you want. And suddenly you don't have to do anything hard. So you don't need another prompting guide ever again.
That is very interesting because that's typically how, not in the same words, that's how I start my prompting with ChatGPT. First, I greet it, and then I'll say, "This is kind of the idea I have. What do you think, or what are your thoughts around it?" And maybe it's not exactly like what you say, but I think what is remarkable to me when I've used it that way. In fact, I've talked a lot about even emotional things, like trying to write a sentimental Christmas card, like that, like, and it giving me information that was so aligned with me as a human. It was so strange and wonderful at the same time. Um, is that because it is reading me, or is there another reason for that? Or that just kind of stunned me a little bit.
Yeah, it's not reading you. It's not doing that. It's not that intelligent. So you're safe. What's
Yeah.
happening is that it's using the aggregate of data. So when you're having a conversation, it's each time you start a conversation, because you start the conversation the same way, you're doing a couple of things right. So the wording doesn't matter. If you give it goal plus permission in the form of a question, you've accomplished my master prompt. So
Mm,
you figured it out on your own, just in a slightly different way, but that's what you're doing. So you might not know why it works, but you're doing the right thing, which is why I want to encourage you. You're doing it great. So you're giving it permission to behave in a different way. You're kind of switching to what I call interrogative mode, which is where we'll ask you questions and ask for more data and be more effective. And a way to think of it is like this. Let's say you say, ChatGPT, write me a song. That was one of the things everyone was doing a year ago. Well, you and I probably like different styles of music. So if you love country music and I love like 1980s pop, well, if I don't tell ChatGPT what style of music I write, it could write any genre of song possible, right? It could write a song that's a Gregorian chant. It might write a song that's a rap. It might write a song in a foreign language. So the more data I give it, right, or the more it knows that what I like, then the better response I'm going to get. So if I say, write a song, here's the three bands I like. Now, the odds of me getting a song I like are like 1,000 times higher. So just giving little pieces of data about what kind of thing you want, like using the word sentimental, right? That's a very specific word. Not everyone uses that. It has a lot of meaning. So that will allow ChatGPT to get a sense of what you mean. And the more you discuss before you ask for the output, the more likely it is to give an output that's close to what you're looking for. So you're training it inside of each conversation, even though you're just not using these terms, because you're saying, oh, here's how I feel. This is the kind of result I want. These are things I've liked in the past. Any of that type of information is training the model or telling it closer and closer to what you like, right? So I could say I like hip hop, or I could say three art rappers that I like. There's two ways of saying the same thing, and the more information I give you, the easier it is for you to give me an output that's what I'm looking for.
yeah. Yeah. It's like whatever you put in, you get out, right? There's this saying of garbage in, garbage out. But when you put good information in, you'll get good. And I have heard this from various um, AI experts is prompting. The prompting is really critical. It's like what you put in. What do you think? You're thinking about that statement.
No, I just think that that's a I think that's mysticism. I think that as long as you form it in the structure of this is what I want and then ask questions, you will get a really good response. When you do it in the form of a command, then you have to have a really good prompt. You have to have a really and I have some prompts that are like 8,000 characters long. I have some really complicated prompts. But those are shorthand from conversations where I started by asking with the master prompt by just saying, here's what I want. I want to create a prompt that does this. What information do you need from me? What information do I need to give you? And then it saves it at a prompt that I reuse later that I copy and paste. But yeah, a lot of prompt engineers just want it to seem really, because it makes it seem like more valuable, right? So it's like, oh, the only way to prompt is to hire me to write you a master prompt or a really complicated prompt, then I'm super valuable as a consultant. And I just don't see it that way. I think that you can get amazing results just by keeping it simple and having in the conversational mode, because most people don't chat with ChatGPT, they give it commands. And garbage in, garbage out is a great statement, because that's the first thing I learned about computers when I was a child. And that is, if you give bad information, you'll get a bad result. But if you allow ChatGPT to tell you, if you switch instead of giving commands to asking questions, it will never happen to you. You bypass that major flaw in computers. You never run into garbage in, garbage out ever again. You can bypass it, which is amazing.
Yeah. So I have a question just kind of came to me because, AI, we just don't know, right? We don't know what the ramifications, the consequences, the benefits fully yet, the downsides, if there are any, to this innovation. So I just have a very specific question. In your opinion, do you think that obviously when you're utilizing an AI tool, you're gaining information a lot quicker, and you are accelerating the learning process in some instances. So therefore, you would say people are going to get smarter. But what do you think that in general AI is going to allow people to get smarter, or, and I'm going to use the word less smart or not, or I don't want to say stupider because that's not a word, but like less smart because they're going to be allowing the AI to do all the thinking for them? Which one's more likely to occur, or is it different for different people? Just curious what your thoughts are.
I think it's a great question. So let me give you a couple of examples. When I was in high school, when I was 16, my parents let me have a pager, and I was so excited. And I had a little black book, and I had probably 20 or 30 phone numbers memorized. So I knew my friends' pager numbers, and I knew like if there was a girl I liked or I was trying to date her or something, I would memorize her phone number, right? And eventually I would write it in my black book. But I could sit down at the phone and call. Like I can still tell you my parents' phone number from high school, my mom's cell phone number, my dad's cell phone number from 30 years ago. But right now, I don't know what my wife's phone number is. I ask her all the time. Every time we're filling some form in, she has to tell it to me. And that's because phones now store phone numbers. And what happens to someone if they have an emergency and their phone gets damaged? They can't call their spouse because they don't know the number. So we rely on a technology to the point where we no longer do that. Does that mean we're smarter or dumber? I don't know for sure, but it does mean we no longer have that ability to memorize or remember phone numbers. A second example is directions. We now use GPSs so much that sometimes people will drive off a bridge because a GPS tells them to. And it's happened, which is very unfortunate. It's a horrible thing, but that we trust technology so much that people can't find their way home or don't know how to get to places without GPS telling them the turn by turn direction. So there are people now who do not know how to get from their office to their house without a GPS telling them. So I do think you're onto something that people will, not yet, but probably in the next 5 years, start deferring parts of their thinking to an AI. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. It means like, oh, we have more bandwidth available to do new and creative, ingenious things, maybe. Or maybe everyone will turn into that movie Idiocracy. It's hard to know what the future will hold. But I have seen with previous technologies that people are less able to do things. There's a lot of people that can't do math without a calculator.
Yeah. 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 So even from every innovation has caused some kind of reliance that then you as a human being decide, okay, well, I don't need to store that information because it's stored for me and I can retrieve it at any given moment. Not realizing that our technology can fail us sometimes, right? So, or not expecting it to be likely that technology will fail us at some point. Um, so that it's very interesting because this is that kind of like that dilemma, right? Is like how much do you use it? And I think it goes back to this every tool, everything really in life, you can actually use it to your benefit or you can use it to your detriment. So if you are using it to a point where you are completely unaware or completely removing your ability to think through things through, that can be kind of dangerous. And your thoughts?
So the biggest mistake people make is publishing something written by ChatGPT that they haven't read to check it. So I see this all the time on social media or emails or blog posts, and I can tell if something's written by ChatGPT because it has a certain accent, right? There's certain phrases that it uses that are very obvious. If you see enough AI content, you go, this was written by AI,
Yeah.
right? We see enough AI images, we know it's an AI image. Most of us can tell when something's a stock photo because it has a certain look to it, because most stock photos were taken in Eastern Europe. So we can tell if all of the actors and all of your pictures on your blog look Eastern European, but you don't live in Eastern Europe, then you go, oh, they're using stock photos. In the same way, there are certain things where AI reveals itself, whether it's through a shininess or the way the image is drawn, or through the certain phrases and words it uses or sentence structures, or the fact that all the sentences have the same number of words in them. There are certain things that right now, at least AI does to reveal itself. And you can accidentally put something out that you would never say. It's the same thing can happen if you hire a VA to write blog posts for you. I've had that happen. I've hired someone to write a blog post and I check it and I go, this is terrible. What are you doing? Why did you publish that? So it happens, right? So that's the mistake people make, is to over rely and then remove the specialness, because your job is not to replace yourself with ChatGPT. It's to use ChatGPT to push yourself into management. So now instead of writing blog posts, I review the blog post. That's the difference between being the line worker and the manager. If you think of it that way, then you can get past this big mistake that people are making, because it's not about you as the AI user, it's about the receiver. Like, how would you feel right now if you suddenly found out that I'm not even a real person, I was just a bot? You were talking to an AI. You wouldn't like that at all, right? You would feel tricked and you would probably feel mad.
Yeah.
And those are how everyone feels. So if you're putting out AI content, there's a moment when people suddenly realize it. It's like when you realize you're following one of those new AI influencers on Instagram, like you should not feel good about yourself for that, right? Because you fell for it and we feel tricked. And that's the worst thing you can make someone feel, whether it's a potential customer, business partner, or friend. So that's the line you want to watch out for, is to not use AI to the point where you're publishing content that you would never publish or saying things that you don't understand. And they go, oh, well, you're an expert on this. And you go, oh, no, I just republished something I saw on Wikipedia. People don't like that. So that's the line you want to watch out for. And I think there's a lot of things happening. You know, I think a lot about your business. You know, there's this new thing you can do where you can take a picture and upload it to an AI and it will put you in different business suits and different professional outfits for your LinkedIn profile picture. There's a specific software that does, there's two tools that do that now. And it's like, well, where's the line where that goes from cool to trickery, right? Because I was thinking about, like, because you can do a green screen. Eventually they'll have where I can change my outfit via AI, right? Like we're having a live video and suddenly I'm wearing a suit. What do you think about that? I mean, my fear, I'll tell you what my fear is, that it stops working when in the middle of a call, just like someone's green screen sometimes does, and suddenly you're not wearing a shirt at all. So that's why I feel nervous about that technology. But how do you think about people using AI to change what they're wearing?
Yeah. Are you asking me?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
the expert. I'm so
Yeah.
interested.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it can replace that feeling that you have when you're actually physically in touch with material and fabric and all that. So the way the person feels. And if you're on camera and you're doing that for the camera, the way you feel always comes through the camera. It will always come through. I tell my clients when I'm getting them ready for a photo shoot, I want you dressed head to toe, including the shoes, even if your shoes are not showing. Why? Because you will feel not fully dressed. You will feel uncomfortable. You'll feel you don't feel put together. So for me, I think that, it's kind of similar to how I do not like virtual backgrounds. It's not that much different, okay? Because those virtual backgrounds almost make me feel like, what is that person hiding behind there that they don't want us to see? That's weird, and that's a reason why I design and I design sets for my clients to be on brand, to represent them, a physical set, and I really discourage the use of a virtual background unless they're in a place where, like, they're at a conference at a hotel and they don't have any other choice. But so I think it will impact us, how we will translate on camera, because we know maybe we're sitting there going, oh my gosh, I hope this doesn't turn off while I'm talking. Like the way you act will show up through the lens, the camera lens. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. So when I'm talking to someone, and there's always a moment when the green screen flickers, always, right?
Right.
Something happens and there's a green tint, and there's a moment where you realize, and it's even worse if it's like 20 minutes into a conversation. And because I used to have one. So when I used to live in a smaller apartment before we had four kids, and it would be my computer, me, green screen. The other green screen is my wife and kids sleeping. So when I was shooting videos, that I was hiding something. I was like, oh, I don't want to show my wife and kids in the background. But it's exactly that. I have the same thought when someone does the blurring out their background.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Like, who are you ashamed of? Like, who's in the room that you don't want me to know is there? That's, like, you remember when you used to do phone calls 20 years ago and you go, am I on speakerphone?
Yeah.
Who else is there? Like, that's the same thought you have when you hear that echo. So it does always reveal itself. And yeah, I sometimes get the question about my background because it doesn't look real. So I have to walk into it and slide into it and show, no, it's real. See, no
Real.
green screen. And the only way you'd believe me is I have to do it. I have to reach back or slide back into it, because otherwise I could just be saying it. And it's interesting how now I think what you're describing is that we crave authenticity.
Right. I was going to
We
go there.
want to know
Yeah.
that we're talking to a real person, that they are talking about real things, that they're in a real place, because we're afraid of being tricked. That's why now sometimes you'll hear that comment like, oh, did you write that or did ChatGPT write it? We used to say, oh, did a VA write it or did you know what I mean? And now it's did ChatGPT. We've just changed the question because we're afraid of being tricked. I think that's the core thing, which is we don't want to I don't know what the new word for it's going to be, but it's like business catfished, right? We're like, oh, loved all of your emails, and you're like, I didn't write any of those. I have no idea what you're talking about, right? And I've had that happen where people have talked to someone who works for me, but they thought it was me, and they had a conversation and I don't know about it. And I'm like, oh, that email account's not me. That's a separate account that someone else on my team runs. The
Yeah.
main account, this one, is where you're talking to me. And but you have to, but then that person feels really bad. So that's not what you how you want to deal with it, right? You don't want to say that to someone. I go and find the conversation, read it, and catch up.
Yeah.
That's a better way to deal with it. But we don't want people to ever feel like they've been tricked or made lesser than. So that's why, even though AI is a really cool tool, you don't want to use it to the point where you lose your humanity or where you're doing things where people could misinterpret it and feel like they've been taken advantage of or manipulated. And that can be as simple as, oh, I thought that was a picture of a real family, right? Like you have a picture of you with a stock photo family. Like that's enough for people to feel tricked, or a stock, yeah, or an unreal background or unreal clothes, like CGI on your clothes. I know it's going to come, and I think it will be so strange, but there'll be a moment people realize it's not what you're actually wearing, and they'll have this feeling of, oh, wait a minute, who am I actually talking to? What is actually going on? And you start to feel like this disconnect. And that's the thing that is the most important thing to avoid. Like, as much as using AI can really help you, always want to pursue authenticity. So you should still want content to sound like you. You want it to be proud of the content you put out there or the way you do things. And that's why I say use it to accelerate yourself or to do things faster, not to do things instead of you. Because that's where people, like right now, a lot of people are just really misusing AI and they're putting out content that's not good. They're going, oh, I post 50 times a day, but all of it's bad,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's a quality, right? It's the content
What's
quality. Yeah.
Yeah, like what's the point? Nobody wants to watch. I don't sit down and go to my wife, let's watch a bad movie. Like, let's
Yeah.
watch a movie where the sound is messed up and the script is unintelligible. No, of
Yeah.
course not. You want quality elements. And you can get amazing quality from AI and amazing quality images from AI as long as you put in effort. And that's the secret to it, is going, I'm going to learn this and put in a little effort, and it's still going to look like me. Like, you
Yeah.
can tell if you visit my website, you can tell it's me because everything has this 1940s Dick Tracy comic aesthetic.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Well, yeah, and that's where branding comes in too, right? Because I am a brand stylist. So not only if we're and that's why I don't really like stock photos, because stock photos are basically cookie cutter, they're automated, right? I always love to come up. I mean, there is a place for them, but very sparingly, in my opinion, because people, if they're going to learn to know and trust you, you need to be expressing yourself in every area of your life on brand. And you can't do that if you're using something that the masses use. That's just my opinion. So, because with branding, you have to have a signature feel, a certain style. Now, when you were talking about the different clothing and all that, I think people would feel I think the word is duped, like what duped? They feel
yeah.
fooled. And let's be honest, what's the number one thing that's important in business? It's to build trust. It's to build trust. And so all these little things can degrade the trust. And so now what's the point, right? Of making these relationships. You're itching to say something. I want to hear it, but I have so much to say about this topic, this part.
No, I love what you said about stock photos because I've seen before where two books have the same stock photo on the cover. And I always think about what happens if we go to a restaurant and my wife sees someone else wearing the same dress. She never says, "Oh, twinsies,"
Yeah.
right? She's always like, "We have to go home and change." And it's like, I think every woman's worst nightmare is to go to prom and someone else is wearing the same dress as you, because you don't want. And that's the thing about stock photos. It's like, well, what if someone else uses the same picture, right? And then it's like revealed that you're a duplicate. So yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah. Well, it's so it brings up so many different thoughts, right? Not just we want to, especially when you're in the creative world, you want to feel like you're creating new things that are different, that are unique. So it's taking away some of the uniqueness, and that kind of makes it feel automated and not custom. So, like exactly like you said with the example with the dress, but this whole idea of, can you imagine? Like we talked about the clothes being superimposed on us when we're on camera, but what if you can superimpose clothes? Can you superimpose somebody's face on like your assistant's face? I
Yeah,
mean, you
You
know,
can't. That's already
yeah,
happening.
yeah.
So that's called deep faking.
Hmm.
And here's you brought up something that's like something I really don't like, and that is people are deep faking themselves. So there's a software out there that I can use. I record a video once, and then I tell it, hey, put a different name for whoever I'm going to send this video to. So it would say send. Have me say Christine, then have me say Christina, then have me say Jennifer, then have me say Terry, then have me say Donald, and send each of those four people a video. So they think it's a video unique to them,
Hmm.
but it AI'd me saying a different name at the beginning. And that's popular with some of the marketers. No, I don't like that at all. I would be really upset if I thought that happened. I don't like when people already send me a video. They go, "Oh, I made a video for you," and I see the link and it says it has 200 views. I'm like, well, "You made the video 2 years ago, right?"
Yeah,
It's a fake personalized video. So I look for when someone sends me a personalized video, the first thing I'd look for is, do they say something that makes it clear they're just talking to me? Do
yeah,
they say my name or something specific about my brand? But now knowing there's AI tools that do that, like that's the thing I don't like, where you can use an AI tool to, I think it goes too far, right? It goes out of authenticity because you're using it to create the very part of the video that's authenticity check, right? Which is where you say my name or say something personal. So you can already do stuff where you merge two faces or put someone's face on your body and all of those things. And that's just like, it's with everything. There's like, you can use something for good or something for like negative. And I just think that's the direction that's like a waste of time because what will happen is people will go, you know what, I don't do deals until we meet in person and we shake hands and I have to see you, look you in the eyes because I don't trust anything through a computer, right? We're going to get to a point where people just don't trust computers, which I think will be a good thing. We'll all switch back to authenticity of meeting
yeah.
in person.
Yeah, well, see, that's it. You see the curve, right? So we all got to the point during the 2020 when we all switched to being on camera, being through the computer, and might this innovation of AI start making people really need to get together and be in the same room again, which is so interesting, right? The way that everything evolves. But you were talking earlier about when your assistant or somebody's assistant sends out an email and it sounds like it's coming from you, it's signed by you. I really have I have a pet peeve about that. I feel like it's so disjointed because my assistant might say something I would never say, right? So I always have her send out an email exactly what I want to say and say Lily, and she'll say Lillian, assistant to Christine Vartanian. Like she will announce that she's actually writing this. So I think that's really important. It's that whole building of trust with the people you're connecting with, right? But this is not new. I mean, it's just getting easier and easier to have to replace parts of you, whether it's your clothes or your background or your face or whatever, or your language with robots or automation. But like even when we send email blasts, now you can program an email blast to address everybody individually, right? So that was being done for a long time.
Yeah. Like I don't do that where you put in the person's first name because there's always
Yeah.
somebody who doesn't put in their first name or they accidentally put like their initials or whatever. So I've never been someone who does the first name
Right.
field.
Yeah.
But I'm very aware of it. My favorite thing is right now, there's a bunch of people that do that. But in the preview, before I open the email, it shows like the variables. Like I see dollar sign, first name, parentheses. I already know, I'm like, well, that's weird. I already know it's not a real email because the code is revealing itself. So, yeah, I mean, the thing about that is there's a line there and it's tricky because I know I'll send out an email to tens of thousands of people and they'll all think it's a personalized email to them. And well, it's a personalized email to my audience, but if they reply, I'll reply one on one. So that does go straight to me always. But I never want to trick people. I'll say, listen, I send out emails. This is an email update for everyone. Like I do say that sometimes. So I don't want to trick people. But there is that line of sometimes people don't realize, right? They just don't know about technology. They don't know emailing services are there. So you're just trying to find that line of where if people found out, they wouldn't be upset. Like that's what I look for when I think about the line
Yeah.
between authenticity and being disingenuous is if someone realized, oh, I sent the same email to 20 people, whether I copied and pasted it or mail merged it or used an autoresponder software, like would they be upset?
Yeah.
I think that's the important thing is like you don't want to go too, and that's the thing I don't like with the video thing, right? The video thing is meant to think, oh, this is a one-on-one individual special video for you. With email, even when you do the first name thing, most people now know that's probably it's not so bad. But I think that's a very important thing, which is like I think we're going to shift back. And a great example of this is music now that all music is free online or you just pay a small subscription to get access to music, people are going to more concerts and live events than ever before. Like musicians make all their money doing live events, just like they did in the 1800s before the invention of recording. So I think that what we crave is human connection more. And that's all that the advent of technology is just pushing us towards, is to where actual like face to face time is more valuable than it was ever before. So while we can use technology for our businesses, and I certainly do, I still am finding ways to show that I'm a real person with real feelings and that I run this business to take care of my family. Like I mentioned my kids throughout these events, not as like a trick, but just like, no, I'm a real person and that's what I'm thinking about. So
Yeah.
that's part of it, is that realness. And it's the same thing. Like when you talk about building a set for a right? And you go, well, when someone hires an interior decorator and the interior decorator does the whole house without talking to the person, you can always tell because it doesn't match their personality at all.
Yes.
And like it reveals itself. Like I don't know a lot about interior decorating and fashion, but I've been in houses before and I go, are you renting this house? Like this does not feel like a house someone lives in, right? The decorations are so strange. And there's a huge part of it. Like there's so much, whether you talk about fashion or backgrounds or personality or colors, like my wife and I spend so much time tweaking this room and changing the lights around and changing the colors and changing the shape, is it's like one of our it's mostly my hobby, right? And she supports me in it, but it's trying to create something, and it's the lights are on even when I'm not on camera. Like I still think about, does it look purple enough? Does it look too blue? What color should I have the octagons be or hexagons? And I think about all that stuff all the time. Like I have a light in front of me that you can't, a green light right now. It's normally purple. I changed it to green. I was like, oh, if I make it too bright, it will shine on me and then I'll be green on camera. And all of that is part of my actual personality. I probably have 50 lights that are not on right now that are in the drawers in the room that we've tried and not used because I change the settings all the time, even though no one cares but me.
Yeah.
That's the part where you become unique because, like you've mentioned, there's tons of AI experts, right? And some of them know everything and some don't know anything, but it's a commodity, right? Even teaching people fashion, you're not the only person in the whole world that knows fashion, right? The reason people follow you and hire you is because they like you as a person, right? Because if you can have two people who are going to help you pick an outfit, you want to be someone that you like, right? You want to work with people that you like. So we need to let our real personalities come through and not just be the on-stage persona, because then people will admire you, but they won't feel comfortable saying, I want to hire you, right? Because they'll go, oh, she would never want to work with me, right? Because there's too much distance. So there's a big importance in kindness, friendliness, and revealing the things that you like and care about, because then people can feel a sense of rapport with you and go, oh, okay,
Yeah.
they're a real person. So that's why like I make a point to like be honest about my flaws when it makes sense to bring them up, right? Like a lot of people go, well, Jonathan's way into his lights. Why does he spend so much time tweaking when no one cares? And it's like, well, it's just something I spent last week 30 hours tweaking the sound quality of my microphone because I was like, I think I can get it 1% better.
Yeah.
And a session, I'll put on headphones and turn the volume up really loud just to see if I can hear anything wrong in the background.
Yeah. Well, it's important
Because
to you, right? It's important to you in the way you're translating on the camera.
yeah, but sometimes that obsession can make me get to the point where people think, wow, Jonathan is such a professionally so expert. There's no humanity there. So I have to find ways to pull that back in. That's why sometimes I shoot videos with my phone, like vertical videos on the beach or with my family to show, no, there's still real stuff there. It's not always everything shiny, because people will compare their backstage to your front stage, right? They'll be like, oh, I'm having a problem with work today, or I'm feeling depressed, I don't feel like working. But I look at Jonathan's videos, he never feels sad or never feels like not working, right? And it's like, no, I feel those things too. I just don't film them, right? I
Yeah.
just don't film those moments. Like
And
I
put
have
them out there. Yeah, exactly. No, totally. I know that's the thing when people say, "Oh, when you look on Instagram or on social media, all you're seeing is the good stuff." Well, because if you did the negative stuff, then you're not being really positive, right? You're not really, yeah. So it's not that you're not being authentic. It's like, why would I want to tell everybody I'm having a terrible day? Like, it's not because I want to highlight that I have a fantastic life, but I want to be positive. I want to make a positive influence. I don't want to be complaining. But I have a question that also came up as we were talking about this authenticity piece, which is so interesting. This conversation took a totally different direction, which I really like, because this is about the pros and cons almost of AI, and the human part of it and the non-human part of it, and how that's all going to affect us. But when people start using AI for blogging and writing their letters to other to potential clients and humans, and then start writing their books using AI, then really I think what comes into question is the respect, right? And what I mean by that is that when you write an outstanding book, right, and then you end up getting on stages because you wrote this outstanding book, and then you are spreading this really important information, knowledge, because of this outstanding book, and imagine finding out that you didn't write that, mostly you didn't write it, then where does that leave you as that person, that the author of that book, in the eyes of the people who thought they were learning from an expert?
So I have two thoughts about this because I'm a ghostwriter. So I have worked with people who didn't write their book, right? And I've had people who've gotten very famous from books that I've written, but I use their knowledge. I talk to them and I interact with them, and the book is really written. I'm just using my skill to translate their feelings and expertise into a book,
Right.
right? I don't write the book whole cloth without talking to them. I would never do that. But my favorite thing is when I meet people that think politicians write their own books. They go, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this presidential candidate had time to write a book right before their campaign started." I was like, "It's come on." Of course not, right? There's a reason everyone running for president always puts out a book the year before they start running their campaign, right? They all have an autobiography, and they're all written probably by the same person. I don't know who it is. It's someone outside my circle of friends. I wish I knew. I would love to do that, right? I'm sure they do it for both political parties as well. I don't think they care because work is work,
Yeah.
and that I'm pretty sure they're all hiring the same person. Because I know the ghostwriters in the rock and roll world, and it's all the same people. So that's what I know. So my thought is that when I write a book, I want the client to say at the end, "It looks like you didn't do anything." They want them to look at the book and go, "It looks like I wrote the whole thing." I go, "That's my point. That's the ghost and ghostwriter. That's the feeling I'm chasing of where they go, "It looks like you didn't do anything." So it completely looks like their voice. They don't read the book and feel like a stranger wrote it.
Yeah. Yeah.
As far as I also use myself as a consumer. So when I read a book, I do not read business books. I read low sci-fi. And what I mean by low, I mean lowest common denominator. I mean, if there's a robot on the cover, or even better, a robot jumping out of an airplane, I'm definitely reading it. Like, so I know, same thing, the type of movies I watch are not highbrow, not sophisticated, because that's my work. My work and my personal are separate, right? So I've sometimes been reading a book and being like, well, this was definitely originally written in Russian because it's got some weird metaphors and translated. It was probably written by a VA. But if I'm enjoying the story, I kind of don't care.
Yeah.
So I look at, do I care if AI wrote a book as long as I like it? And that's a personal thing. That's my personal feeling as someone who reads it.
Yeah.
That's what I think about. Now, here's something that you should know, and this might be interesting, is that I'm inside of ChatGPT. ChatGPT, which was not supposed to, read my book. It read my book, Serve No Master, my flagship book from 2016. And so it knows my personality. If you say right now to ChatGPT, write something in the style of Jonathan Green, it will write something that sounds like I wrote it.
Yeah.
And it will use my metaphors. And if you ask it to describe my writing style, well, it talks about how I write, has a pretty strong opinion about me. And I can either be really upset by that and be like, hey, that's my secret sauce, right? That's who I am. Don't steal my identity. Or I can just accept it and go, okay, this is a tool that I can use.
Wait,
And
how
there
are
are
you
authors.
inside ChatGPT? How does that come about? Like, how did that happen?
So somebody stole my book, put the PDF online somewhere, right? And so ChatGPT, when it scanned the whole internet, read that book because the PDF was put somewhere. I don't
Okay.
know. It might have even been me. It might have been I left an open link to my PDF somewhere on the internet without realizing it.
Mm.
And that's how it found it. But that's what probably happened. I doubt that it broke into Amazon and stole their files. I think that's the least likely. But either way, I didn't know that it was going to happen because I said, write something in the style of Jonathan Green when I was doing a demo with my clients. I was teaching a demo. And I thought it would pick the more famous Jonathan Green who wrote A Fault in Our Stars, right? I was like, that's the more famous version. But ChatGPT started writing and they go, this doesn't sound like him at all,
Yeah.
right? This doesn't sound like a teen who has terminal disease and is falling in love for the first time, which is what all of his books are. And it didn't sound like the science fiction author Jonathan Green, and it didn't sound like the painter. There's like I'm like the eighth most famous Jonathan Green, and I know all the ones ahead of me. So I was like so surprised it picked me, and I go, wait, which Jonathan Green did you choose? And he goes, oh, it's the business and personal development author who wrote Serve No Master. And I was like, wait, that's me. ChatGPT, you're talking to the celebrity that you're looking for, right? So that's how I found out. It wasn't I didn't expect it. So I was like, I thought I was below the line of celebrity of who it would know about, but there's a lot of authors who write fiction who are really upset about that, and that's what the whole writer strike was about. Like, don't write in the style of me. And it's like, well, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. You have to think, how can I leverage this to write more scripts faster and better scripts using what I've already done? So
Yeah.
that's how I see it. And but you just have to decide because we haven't figured out what's okay and what's not okay. Like there's this talk of like maybe you have to say this book was written by AI or 70% AI or 30% AI. And we're deciding what's rude and what's polite. And I'll give you an example is that if I write to you an email and it's in all in capital letters, your thought is he's shouting. That wasn't true 30 years ago. We decided sometime around 1996, 1997 that capital letters mean shouting. Before that, it didn't mean that.
Yeah.
As a whole society, we've made it, but we don't have a way to, a font for whispering. If I write italics, you don't think, oh, he's whispering, right?
Yeah.
If I write all small letters. So we don't have a one for whispering, we just have one for shouting. And from there, we start to decide what is etiquette, right? And we're kind of falling to that rule of like, don't put your elbows on the table when you eat. And another version of that is now a lot of people have these AI note takers. So they'll come into a Zoom meeting and it'll be 10 people and 10 AIs taking notes. And I think that's rude, but I might be wrong. We haven't decided as a society whether or not that's rude to bring an AI into a meeting without permission. And I just don't know.
Yeah.
We
Well,
haven't
it's a
decided.
whole new world. It's a whole new world. And, it's kind of like everything that like even when we all started being on Zoom, people didn't know really how to show up. They'd show up in their bedrooms with their beds unmade in the back, it was new. It was new. And so there's still a lot to learn when it comes to etiquette, when it comes to that. But we're going to wrap up the show, but I have like a close that I definitely want to, I want to make sure that we get to. And that is, if there's one takeaway, Jonathan, one takeaway that the audience should take away today from this conversation, what is that one thing you want to leave them with?
You can use AI to do things faster, to grow your business, to increase your revenue, and still be authentic. And that's really the needle you want to thread. And that's where the magic will happen. Those are the people that are going to rise to the top over the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And how about if you were to give somebody a tip? What would be a tip or two that you would suggest when they're trying to really start to harness the AI world?
Sure. You want to a week that takes the most amount of time that if I could replace that, it would give me the biggest win. A lot of times we look at AI and go, what's something really cool I can learn how to do? And it goes, oh, it will save me 10 minutes a week. That's not good. Find something that you do 5 or 10 hours a week. Could be answering emails, could be editing, could be writing show notes for your podcast, whatever the thing is that if you got that time back, it would be a significant win. And let's say you do something that gives you back 2 hours a week. Well, now next week you have 2 hours to spend learning the next task and pushing that down to AI.
Yeah.
So really start there. And if you have employees, look at the employee that every time you pay them, you don't like it. Everyone has that. The employee, they're like, this is the one. It's so annoying when I have to pay you, right? That's the person whose tasks you want to teach an AI to do. Those are the two ways to look at it. Like what's something that takes a lot of time, or the person, because it might not be your most expensive employee, but it's the one that like you're like, I wish I didn't have to pay you.
Yeah.
That's what I would look at.
Interesting. How about a tool? Now, I know that with the hashtag Fast AI and Shine, that you have a tool for us. What can you tell us what that is that you're offering as a gift today?
Yeah. So everyone can have a free copy of my bestseller, ChatGPT Profits. ChatGPT is probably going to read it eventually anyways. So anyone who does that, we'll send them a copy of the book, the digital version. So you can obviously go to Amazon and buy it, which I appreciate. I do love making the royalties, but I want to give it away to your audience because I've had such a good time and you've been so nice to me and we've had such a fun conversation. And I really just want people to get a chance to learn the tool now while ChatGPT is new, while we're early adopters. It's still 90% of people are not using
Yeah.
of this revolution, and you can still be an early adopter and be someone who just has a massive success because you're one of the early ones to figure this out.
Yeah, we have a little bit of delay because you are 4 a.m. right now, probably. But we got all the information, early adoption, and that 90% are not using AI. Is that what you said? Okay, yeah.
Yes.
So, what is the name of your book, really quick? The tool that we are really telling.
Sure. My book is called ChatGPT Profits.
Okay. Okay, and finally, we always wrap up with an action item. We want to propel people into actually taking the content today that we've talked about, the ideas, the thoughts, and propelling them right into action. Something easy that they could just do to help them kind of take that next step to encourage them to look into AI for themselves.
Sure. You can ask ChatGPT one question. You can use the free version of ChatGPT and say, "This is the task I do every week. That's that I want to replace. How can you help me do that?"
Okay. All right. Well, that I'm going to try myself. Thank you so much, Jonathan. We are delighted to have had you. You are a wealth of information. I feel like you need to come back to the show so we can continue the conversation. There's so much still that we didn't cover, and there's so much innovation going on in the industry. And I wanted to talk about all the different types of AI, but maybe, just maybe, you'll agree to come back.
Of course. I had a great time.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Jonathan, for being here. And thank you, Waste Up Wardrobe Nation, for being here for another episode of Waste Up Wardrobe, where we really dug deep into AI and try to understand what the ramifications are, the positive, the negative, and kind of be aware of all that. So thank you for being here. And you know the drill. We are here every Thursday at 11:30 live, bring you a new fresh show to help you show up with your best face forward in the professional world. Thank you, John. That was awesome. We had a couple of little times where the audio went out, but overall it was wonderful.
Oh, okay. I hope it gets it. Jeez.
Oh, it was fine. It was like so infrequent, and I was getting ready to jump in and kind of talk for you, but I not that I can on the topic, but
Mm.
just to kind of bridge the gap. But it was great. Could you just repeat the action item, because I was trying to get that for my speedy recap and I didn't. The action item you talked about,
Yeah,
ask one question.
sure. Go to ChatGPT and say, "This is the task I want to learn to replace this week. How can you help me do that?"
Okay. All right. Perfect. How was it for you?
Fine. I had a good time.
Okay, good. Even though it's 4 o'clock in the morning over there.
Well, I do these all the time. Like, that's just part of it, right? If I'm going to live here, I have to meet on other people's time zones, right? If I'm on someone else's show, I go on when their show is on.
Yeah, no, I understand. So that's exactly how it's done. But okay, so I've been interviewing a lot of great experts through this process and on Waist Up Wardrobe, and I'm working on putting together a community where we can all collaborate. And I'm just wondering if you would be interested in just getting the email to see if you want to be part of it when I put it
Okay.
all together. Because I think we can
Sure.
all really partner or mastermind, or I'm not sure exactly what it's going to look like, but I feel like I need to bring all these people together. And so we can all, create some amazing impact.
Yeah, I love it. No, I'm always interested in meeting new people. That's why I do podcasts. And that's why I have my own podcast. It's a great way to meet more people.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, so is your whole family sleeping right now? You're the only one up?
Oh, they'll be up in an hour because it's 4:30 now. So, they'll be up in 2 hours to go to
Yeah.
school and stuff. But yeah, it just, it is what it is. It's just that way I can spend the day with them and then the night working. Just a trade-off, you know?
That is great. Yeah, it's a good way to work. Hey, Rick, what did you think of this show?
Hey, no, this is
Good.
great. That's awesome. Awesome,
Yeah, it
awesome,
was
awesome.
great.
I love the tip on the prompt. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's so much good, but and it's funny because it took a different direction than I thought, but that's what I love about these live shows, that I just go with the flow and really talk about what is coming naturally, organically. But so I feel like
Yeah.
there's so many other technical things I wanted to cover, but we just didn't have the time. So
I have a
next time.
technical question real quick for Jonathan. This is kind of a geeky question, but what are those strip lights over your left shoulder? Yeah.
Yeah, so those are regular LEDs, like an LED strip. I forget the brand, it's the main brand. And then the actual enclosure is a Musata. On Amazon, Musata has the best ones because they're deep enough. They're called they're aluminum LED runners, I think is the word. And they're deeper, so they're more than a centimeter. So that way there's not spotting. That's why it looks so smooth. So that's only 60 LEDs per meter. So and
Is
then
that one
it's just
continuous LED inside of a enclosure?
yeah, so there's 6 strips. Each
Yeah.
one is a strip, and then they're just connected with a little wire connecting. And then there's a Bluetooth controller. I'm right now. You can use WLED with your own ESP32 if you want. Like that's what I program my own
Yeah.
sometimes. But right now I have it on SP105, which is just easier. Those are like $10 a Bluetooth controller. So that's what I
Yeah.
have running
So
because I'm
those are
not doing
just the
complicated
opaque wire.
pattern.
Those are just opaque wires that are connecting them from end to end, right? That's why we're not seeing the bleed over of
Yeah, they're
continuous
white.
LEDs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're not continuous. So in between, it's not. There's just a wire connecting one strip to the next. Because they're each 1 meter. So that's each of those is a 1 meter or 3 foot long
No, those are cool.
piece. Oh, thanks. Yeah, me and my
All
wife
right.
built those.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Part of the hobby. Thanks.
I hear you.
All right. Well, thank you, Jonathan, again, and let's stay in touch. I'll keep you posted and keep you in the circle.
Yeah, let me know when the episode comes out and stuff, and I'll share it with my channels, okay?
Yeah, it's
So thank
live.
you so much.
So it's
Yeah.
out. It's out already. It's live
Yeah.
on Facebook, and there'll be and then Rick, you put it
Yeah, in the email that I sent you, Jonathan, you already have the links to the evergreen
Okay, I'll check
episodes
it.
to
Great.
YouTube and to Facebook.
yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you.
Got it. Good meeting you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Okay,
All right.
you ready?
Yeah, I got to do the speedy recap and move. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Let me just do something here.
Okay.
Okay, when you're ready.
Okay. Let me see. Want to get your great idea out there faster or build a website in like I'll try again. Want to get your great idea out there faster or build a website with a 5-minute prompt and get it out there? What about learning more about the world of AI and its innovation and the way it's evolving? Well, in episode 155, The Magic of AI, we're going to uncover all of that so that you can be equipped with knowing how to use it for your business and beyond.
Okay.
How's that feel?
Good. Yep. That
Not
was
bad,
good.
right? I kind of hesitated at the end, but
No, it was good.
okay. All right.
Yep.
Okay. In episode In episode 155, The Magic of AI, the waste up boy. In episode 155, The Magic of AI, the Waste Up Boredom weekly wrap up in a nutshell boiled down to this. The main takeaway is you can use AI in your work and still be very real and very authentic. A tip that our client A tip that our guest gave us was think about something that is taking a large chunk of your time during the week and try and replace that task with the use of AI. And that should be able to gain you time in the week so you can be more productive. And a tool he gave us is Jonathan Green, who was our guest, his book called, oh, I forgot his name, ChatGPT Profits. Okay. And a tool he offered us was his book, ChatGPT Profits, which he gave us a digital copy of on the show that you can go to the link and find it, or you can buy your copy on Amazon. And finally, an action item. Action item. Task I want to learn to replace. And finally, action item. Jonathan told us that you can go to ChatGPT right now and give it the prompt. And finally, action item. And finally, action item. Go to ChatGPT, give it one prompt, ask it one question about a task that you do that you want to be able to replace, and ask it to help you with this. Good?
Wasn't sure what you were saying there at the end.
I was talking about the action item. He said the action item would be go to ChatGPT and ask it a question about a task that you do and ask it to help you with it. I thought that's what he said.
Yeah, I got that, but your closing statement though, I didn't quite get that.
That was the closing. That's what I said last. The action item.
Okay.
Do you want me to say it again to see if it makes sense better?
Yeah, just one more time.
Okay. And finally, action item. Go to ChatGPT, ask it a question about a task that you do that takes a lot of your time, and ask it to help you with it. Is that better?
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
Is that better? Did it make sense to you though?
Yes, that one did.
Okay. All right.
All right. Let me this. Hold on.